Hey, how's it going, everybody? Mike Weber here, your Los Angeles real estate broker, here today with 5 strategies that we're using to help our buyers transition from their current home into their next home in this extremely competitive market. Now, one of the main things that we're hearing out there that our clients are telling us is they're concerned that it's going to be very difficult for them to transition into the next home or find a buyer that's going to give them time to sell their home, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of concern about what that's going to look like. And of course, nobody wants to end up homeless in this, very difficult and competitive market for buyers. Now, one thing I do want to say is that it's really relative in terms of market timing. And what I mean by that is that right now, we're in this really strong seller's market, which for the home that somebody is selling is actually a huge benefit. That means they're very likely to get very good terms, get a very high price for it, maybe get multiple offers, maybe even find a buyer that's willing to give them time that they need to actually sell the property and find another property potentially. Now, the downside, of course, is that it'll be more competitive on the next property, and they'll have to be very aggressive to purchase the next property. Now, for instance, let's say we were in a market that prices were falling, then in that case, it'd be relative as well. In that, it might be very difficult to get top dollar or to get a great price on the home that you need to sell. It might be very hard to find a buyer that's willing to give you any time to try to find another home when there'd be, many more homes on the market to choose from. The buyers would realize that prices were falling. So the point is there's always going to be positives and negatives no matter what the market's like when you decide you want to buy and sell a home. So really, you just have to have the right tools and strategies to be able to achieve your goals. So I'll start off with kind of the easiest ones, the most beneficial ones, and then I'll work down to the options that are a little bit more tricky, but can certainly still be done with the right agent, with the right strategy, etc. So first and best is, of course, buy the new house first and then sell your current home afterwards. And so, of course, you're going to have to be in a pretty strong financial position to be able to do this. You want to have enough income to qualify for both mortgages at the same time, because that's what the lender is going to require. And then, of course, you need to have the down payment to be able to purchase the next home without even having to worry about pulling the equity out of your current home. Now, the benefit of this, of course, is that you definitely don't end up homeless. You can take your time to find the right next home to purchase. And whenever you find it, then you just put your home on the market. You get the absolute best terms and price on your current home. So really a good strategy. But of course, this really works for not that many people, because not as many people are in a strong financial position to be able to have 2 mortgages, or they may not want to be in the position of having 2 mortgages just in case, the market were to change or something were to happen. Now, the second one is to sell the current home and then have us negotiate a long escrow as well as a long lease back. So it's not uncommon in this circumstance using this option to ask for up to a 60-day escrow and up to a 60-day lease back on top of that. Now, buyers generally are going to remove their contingencies, approximately 15 to 21 days into escrow, which would leave you as the seller with your agent a long period of time from the remaining 60 days of escrow plus the 60-day lease back to go out there and find another home, get an offer accepted. And another benefit of this option is once that buyer has removed the contingencies on your home, it's fairly easy to get an offer accepted on the next home, because the seller of that property can obviously be made to realize that the buyer on your home is definitely purchasing and you're definitely selling it. You don't have a contingency. Nothing's going to hold up that sale. So this can be a very, very good option where you can still get the best terms and price for your current home. You are committed to selling it, but at least you get the best deal on selling it. And then, of course, you have a pretty reasonable amount of time to find the next home and get that purchase. Now, of course, there is some risk there that you might have to be more aggressive as you get to the end of that time period to make sure that you have a home to move into that you like, or you might want to be prepared, if absolutely necessary, to maybe do a short-term rental until you get the next home, get an offer accepted on the right home, or maybe, even do like an Airbnb for a couple of weeks or whatever the case may be. Have that option ready just in case at the end of that 60-day escrow and that 60-day leaseback, you're not closed on the next home or you didn't find the right next home. Now, the next option is lenders will generally allow you to have a lease in place on your current property. And as long as you show them that it's going to be leased once you actually move out, then they generally will not use that as a requirement for you to qualify for the mortgage on the current home. So this frees you up to be able to get qualified on purchasing a new home. You only need the down payment and the ability to purchase that. And the current home, they just assume, it's going to be leased out. So they don't look at that in terms of your qualifications. Now, it's not uncommon for people to, do a very short-term lease, maybe month to month with a friend or a family member or something like that can live in the home short term. And then once they purchase the next home, they move into the next home. Of course, they can thereafter, decide to stop leasing it, put it on the market right away, and then go ahead and sell it. So this is kind of a nice strategy that can allow you to satisfy the lender, make sure you're doing everything correctly, but have the option to turn around if you want in a few months after you do a short-term lease and then put the home on the market and go ahead and get it sold. So the next strategy is kind of an uncommon one that not too many agents or people are kind of familiar with. But that's a bridge loan. So if you have quite a bit of equity tied up in your current home and you want to use that to purchase the next home, there are companies out there that'll do a short-term bridge loan against that equity and allow you to use that equity as a down payment on the next home. So of course, in this scenario, you do have to qualify for both homes at the same time, assuming you have a mortgage on the first one. Now, if you don't have a mortgage, then of course you're in even better position because you just use that equity as a down payment, purchase the next home, and then sell the current home and pay off the bridge loan. So this can be a great option for somebody that has a lot of equity and doesn't want to do a HELOC or doesn't want to refinance first, which obviously takes a long time. And then once they refinance, of course, from a qualification standpoint, now you have that larger payment on the current home. And then of course you have to qualify for the payment on the next home. So this is kind of an in-between option. These bridge companies really do a great service and allow people to make a smooth transition where lender is satisfied, and then you can turn around and sell the current home as soon as you move into the new home. And then finally, the fifth strategy is a contingent sale. Now, this is going to be the most difficult in a competitive market like this for several reasons. It's going to be more difficult to find a buyer that's going to want to allow a lot of time in between for you to go shop for homes and get an offer accepted. And it's going to be especially difficult for a seller who's going to get 5 or 10 or 20 offers on their home to want to go with a buyer that has a contingent sale, that needs to sell their home before they're actually going to be in a position to be able to purchase their home. Now, there are ways of doing it. We do this from time to time. And really the strategy is that we need to have a buyer that's fully committed to purchasing your home, meaning they've removed all their contingencies, they've done all their due diligence, and their deposit is on the line if they don't close that sale. And then at that point, we can go out there and get an offer accepted. So we simply need to negotiate a long enough period in between where that buyer is fully committed that allows us enough time to go out there and find you the right home and get that offer accepted. And of course, satisfy that seller so we can make the whole process work. So it's not as easy. Sometimes you have to cycle through a couple buyers before you end up making the whole process work, but it's definitely an achievable solution, even in the competitive environment that we're now in, if you have the right agent, the right strategy, and you do everything correctly. So I hope this information was useful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. If you're on YouTube, leave some comments down in the description of how you've done this in the past. Of course, if you need any help with anything real estate related, I'm a phone call away. I'm here to help, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.